So now I'm on the passenger side. A few weeks ago, I replaced the caliper rotor pads on the driver's side because it was physically locked up. But apparently both sides have an issue. You see how small the brake pad is. This side just started locking up almost immediately after I fixed the driver's side. The driver's side was physically locked up. Well, not all the way, but it was stiff last time I worked on it. This time, this one has the issue. Okay, see, now the fluid's just now starting to come out. It was just steam. I opened it, so the brake fluid was boiling on this side. So I had that brake bleeder open for probably 1 full minute, and then finally fluid started coming out. So it's gravity bleeding right now. But what was happening was it was roasting the fluid from a locked up caliper. Locked up caliper. So I've never seen that before on this platform. I've had to do stuff like that on other vehicles over 10 years ago whenever I worked on other stuff, but it's a first time occurrence for this platform. So now I gotta exchange all the brake fluid in this thing and change everything on this side. See how these brakes were new like 6 months ago. I can tell the rotor's worn, and obviously the pads are worn. And it was getting a wobbly feeling while driving. But after I fixed the driver's side, I didn't notice it on the passenger side. But of course, I only put about 30 miles on it. Maybe a little bit more. I put probably 60 miles on it total, but only 30 miles on it after it was fixed. But yep, that's gonna be a problem. At this point, I've babysat hundreds of these vehicles, the same exact type of platform, whether it be A4, A5, Q5, A6, and then similar type platforms. You know what I'm talking about, the Audis and VWs and so on. This is the first one that I've seen both of the front calipers lock up. Most of the time, whenever you have a caliper lock up, it's going to be side specific, but this one seemed to happen both at the same time. And if it was a shop scenario, if I was working at the dealership or a specific shop and a shop's reputation was hanging on the line, I would have quoted everything. I don't care if they go to another shop and get it fixed cheaper. It's always best to overquote. And if the customer says, well, I only have money for such and such or whatever, then the service writer, they can come back to the mechanic. They can say, well, it gets into a tricky situation. You know, some shops might half fix things. Some shops might say, no, sorry, we won't do it unless you do the whole ticket. But the dealership mentality is to typically just throw the kitchen sink at the problem because you don't want comebacks. And unfortunately, this one for me was a comeback. I had to do both calipers on the front end, and along with other things, the pads, the rotors. The brake line was not an issue. The brake lines were fine, but definitely the fluid needs replaced. Whenever the fluid boils out, it's junk. You can't trust the fluid anymore once it got hot like that. So give me your opinion on how you quote things. If you would do a half repair, if the customer says, well, I don't have money for, and someone might even say that the front's locking up. Someone might say, well, it needs pads, calipers, rotors all the way around. It needs brake hoses all the way around. It needs a master cylinder. You know, you could write up a $3,000+ ticket on this thing just for one locked up caliper if you really wanted to. So just throwing that out there.